So I am fascinated by how our bodies, our minds, and our moods are all connected and how it all works. And over the course of the last year or so, I've been really digging into this topic of happiness hormones. I included an element of it in my TED Talk in December. I talked a lot about oxytocin, which we'll talk a little bit about today. And it's just so interesting to me to think about how it is that we are all driven to a large extent by happiness hormones, and how our hormones are impacted by what we do, and how the current circumstances and situation are impacting all of those things. So I'm going to walk you through how I look at all of this. Starting with the idea, sorry, I'm just looking for somebody unmuted. Starting with the idea, the reality that we are animals driven by our hormones. And I don't mean that to suggest that we don't have control over what we do, or that we're somehow just slaves to our hormones. I don't mean that at all. But what I do mean is that we as human beings are designed in this miraculous way so that doing things that are good for us and good for our communities make us feel good. And later on, we'll talk a little bit about the helper hormones and how helping people makes you feel good. And that's the way we're built. That's the way human beings have been as successful as we are, because we can create these very positive loops where being productive, learning new things, connecting with others makes us feel good and makes us want more of that. And there's been a whole lot of science done to investigate and understand why that is. And so much of that provides so much insight into how we function, what we do. And if we get really smart and really intentional, we can use all of that to make ourselves feel better, and then make ourselves more productive, and then make ourselves feel better in this beautiful loop. So without even thinking about it, we have constructed elements of our life around doing things to drive our happiness hormones. You don't even realize that you're doing it. And now obviously some of what we do is not necessarily great for us. Some of our habits, things that become habits, aren't necessarily great for us. We can get into dopamine addictions, and we'll talk a little bit about that, especially in the context of social media. But overall, what we find when we go through our lives and we construct our lives is that we are driven to do positive things because they make us feel good. So we've set up our life that way. And then seemingly overnight, everything changed. And the oxytocin rush you get from sharing experiences with your friends, the endorphins and oxytocin that you get from being involved in a group fitness situation, the dopamine you get for getting paid for the work that you do, all of those things for many of us have up and disappeared. The joy you get from greeting your kid when he gets off the bus at the end of the day, the satisfaction you get from working with colleagues and being productive and feeling like the work that you're doing matters. We've lost a lot of that. And it's been replaced in many instances by this profound sense of uncertainty. And we talked about that a little bit actually before we got started, and we were just chit-chatting. We were talking about the quarantine or the corona roller coaster that we all find ourselves on, where one minute we're feeling positive and the next minute we're feeling so uncertain or fearful. And to my part, I find that I'm constantly recalibrating. I'm constantly calculating, how long do I think this is going to last? How much food is there in the house? When am I going to have to go to the grocery store? I say, when am I really mean my husband, Eric, because going to the grocery store freaks me out. And he is much better able to handle it than I do. So I actually haven't been going to the grocery store much, but you get my point. It's this constant recalibration, analysis, roller coaster of emotions. And that's having a very detrimental effect on our happiness hormones. I know there's some way to mute everybody. I just don't know how. What I believe is that understanding a little bit more about those 4 hormones, and I'm talking about the happiness hormones, but we're going to dig into really what they are. Having a better understanding of what they are and how they work, and then getting intentional and deliberate about what you can do, what steps you can take to fire up those happiness hormones under current circumstances, really can have a very material impact on how happy and positive you feel. And we all know that the more positive you feel, the happier you feel, the more productive you feel, the happier and more productive and positive you will be. We are driven by our actions. It's action first. And we'll talk a little bit about the idea of doing these things even when you don't necessarily feel like it. So my hope is that we come through this with a little bit of a deeper understanding of what those 4 happiness hormones are and some of the things and steps that we can take. So, 2 caveats. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist. I am simply someone who is fascinated by how this all works. Read, apply, try, test, all of these things, kind of turning myself into my own little laboratory. As many of you in this community know, I love nothing so much as the opportunity to talk with and connect with other women and learn about their experiences and learn about their challenges. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I am a student. That's the word I was looking for. I am a student of this topic. The other thing we'll talk about at the end again is that some days, maybe you just can't. We are living in unprecedented times. And what that means is there's not a rule book. And there are people out in the world, including myself, who is showing up every day and saying, you should do A, B, and C because I believe it will make you feel better. And there may be some days where you say, hell no, I can't do anything except eat chocolate chip cookies. And I get that. You need to show up where you are. You need to be where you are. And to the extent that anything we talk about today feels like more pressure and less tools, don't do it. Consider these ideas, tools, things to try. And yeah, I'm going to encourage you to push yourself, understanding that if you can't get to that place, especially right now, that's okay too. Okay, so what are these 4 mysterious happiness hormones? The first is oxytocin. And any of you guys who are moms, and I suspect most of you are probably familiar with oxytocin, at least in the context of childbirth and nursing. So oxytocin is the hormone that triggers childbirth and triggers nursing. And that makes sense because it's the hormone that's encouraging you to connect with your baby. But it turns out that oxytocin shows up in our lives in many other situations as well. It's a hormone that drives kinship and connection. It drives love and affection. It encourages us to be more collaborative, especially with women. And I talk about that in my TED Talk. I won't dig into it too deeply, but oxytocin is a fascinating hormone. You get it by connecting with people you care about. You also get it from sex. You also get it from childbirth. So you see, it's kind of all about connection. So especially those of you who are quarantined alone, you guys, you are low on oxytocin. That's just the nature of it. A lack of oxytocin is one of the things that can help drive those feelings of loneliness. So Those of you quarantined alone, that sucks, but maybe it'll suck a little bit less if you understand it a little bit more. Dopamine is your accomplishment hormone. It's the get stuff done and do more hormone. As I like to call it, the kick-ass hormone, in moderation, because dopamine can be addictive. So it's dopamine that you get on social media when people are liking your stuff. It's dopamine that you get when you check something off your to-do list. And I don't know about anybody else. I'm sure there are a couple of other people in this category. I have been known to write something down on my list that I've already done so I can have the pleasure of crossing it off. That's because that feeling gives me a dopamine rush. Now, the reason that that's good is it makes you want to do more. This is your productivity hormone. And so many of us have lost the things that we normally do that make us feel productive. And what that means is it's kind of drawing some of that forward momentum, that urge to be productive out of you. I know I've seen it from my friends, and I've seen it on social, and I've seen it from the community. People so frustrated. I have more time right now, and I don't feel like doing more. People are getting angry with themselves because I have time. I could be cleaning my whole house. I could be cleaning out the closets. I don't feel like it. You don't feel like it because you are low on dopamine. A body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest, it's hard to get moving. Endorphins are your body's natural painkiller. There have been studies that have shown that endorphins function similarly to the way morphine functions. It can be that strong. It's what drives the so-called runner's high, which I personally have never experienced because running is like torture. Even I've never, like, people talk about that feeling of euphoria when they run. I've never been there, but that feeling is driven by your endorphins. They take, on average, and everybody's different, about 10 minutes to kick in. You absolutely can get into that endorphin rush through walking if you are walking at a good clip and if you stick with it for a period of time. I can feel when I do a 99 walking class, for me, because I'm pretty tuned into my body, because I pay a lot of attention to these things, I can actually feel with myself when the endorphins start to kick in. And I thought about this just the other day. I went out to do my favorite walk, which is about 2.2 miles on a dirt road. And I know this sounds a little crazy, but I know where in that walk, normally, endorphins start to fuel my body. And the first 10 to 15 minutes of the walk is such drudgery until I get into that place. And I know I'll get there, and I start out the walk thinking like, oh, I just have to suck it up for 10 minutes and then this is going to feel good. And serotonin is your kind of overall well-being and mood regulator. It may be familiar to you guys because it is the hormone that most antidepressants try to address. Keeps you peering over the edge of the pit, if that resonates or makes any sense to anybody. So when I talk about the 4 happiness hormones, that's really what I'm talking about. So with our routines gone, most of us, and most of our routines, with the things that normally gave us that juice gone, I sat down and started to think about, okay, what are 9 ideas to try to put something back? Where can we get that? And I really encourage you guys to treat these 9 ideas as nothing more than thought starters for yourself. And I want you to be a little bit more intentional and aware of how different behaviors are impacting your mood. And as we go into this, I want to remind you that you have so much more control over how you feel than you think you do. That doesn't mean it's easy, because it's not, but it does mean there are things you can do. One more thing, and that is this. If you are depressed, genuinely depressed, especially in these very difficult times, that's a whole nother level that needs a whole nother level of attention. And despite the way the world is right now, there is help and support out there for everyone. You're just going to have to work a little bit harder to get that. And that's really challenging. But I'm talking to you assuming that you're basically okay, that you're basically feeling okay, down, challenged, fearful, all of the things that everybody's feeling. If you're in another category of hurt, you need another category of attention. And that is something you just have to work a little bit harder to take care of right now, because there is help out there. It's just not quite as easy to get your hands on. All right, moving on. Number one is connect. I taught I'm trying to figure out how old she is, my 87-year-old mother to Zoom chat last week, 2 weeks ago. My dad was there too. He's 91. My dad is still of the age where the family and his grandchildren show up on the computer and he goes like, "It's a miracle. Like, how'd you do that?" There is something about seeing people's faces, and it's partly because you get to see their expressions. And it is a richer experience than hearing their voice. And it is a far, far richer experience than getting a text from them. So I know you may not feel like it. The secret to this, in my experience, is putting it on the calendar. Because there's never going to be a moment where I'm going to feel like just hopping on the phone, or hopping on the Zoom chat or the FaceTime. So instead, the people I care about, my parents in particular, I'm reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, do you guys want a video chat at 3:00 today?" And it goes on my calendar. Because if you wait until you just sort of feel like it, or you ready? If you wait until the mood strikes you, especially right now, the mood is not going to strike you, because you would rather be eating chocolate chip cookies. Unless, I shouldn't say you, I should say me. I would rather be eating chocolate chip cookies than jump on a FaceTime chat, even with people I love. So make it a point to connect, and do it with some kind of visual connection. Hug. Those of you who are quarantined with people you love, there are few things as valuable to goose up that oxytocin than a hug. Just hug. If you're somebody who hugs a lot, hug more. If you're somebody who doesn't hug a lot, hug a lot. Laughter. Bring on the serotonin. Laugh. I know it feels indulgent. I know it feels like these are difficult times. These are not times for levity. But take my word for it, these are times that you will only get through with some levity. I have very good friends of mine who, as a family, are watching The Office from season 1, episode 1. They're doing it as a family. Every night they sit down and they watch 2 episodes together. The Office is actually not my sense of humor, but whatever is your sense of humor, go find it and deliberately seek it out. Every day, if possible, every day find some moment to laugh about something. I promise the important and heavy things you need to think about will still be there. And I promise you that you are not disrespecting the gravity of what's going on in our world by taking time to laugh about something silly. Move your body. Move your body. I don't know how else to say it. It doesn't matter what form that takes. You guys are all part of the 99 Walks family, so clearly you have made walking part of your life, or at least intend to do that or want to do that. I will tell you, hands down, no question about it, the days that I walk and the days that I exercise, I have more energy and feel happier than the days that I don't. And I know you feel the same way. And I know it is sometimes hard to get out the door. You are going to have to figure out what habits to put into place. And we could have a whole nother webinar. If anybody's interested, we could talk about habits, right? And how to build in those good habits. I think actually we probably should do that. But at the very least today, I want you to intellectually accept and own the fact that moving your body is going to make you feel better. Practice gratitude. And we actually just had a team call a little bit ago around saying thank you to caregivers and first responders and practicing gratitude. And in my mind, those are two different things because gratitude is personal to me. Practicing gratitude is taking the time to count my blessings. I was talking to a friend of mine just, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and I do practice gratitude. It's part of my morning routine. But what she's doing is really interesting. Since the quarantine started, she is challenging herself every day to come up with 3 new things for which to be grateful, to be grateful for. For which to be grateful? To be grateful for. And for me, I often start with the big things. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for the health of my family. I'm grateful for hot coffee. I mean, that one shows up like a lot in my morning gratitude journal. But to challenge yourself to look for the unexpected things. And the reason that I say this, and I'm not the only one who says this, but I put this in the context of practice gratitude because this has to be an affirmative practice. For you to get the most out of it, it has to be something that you are doing intentionally, that you are doing, most importantly, when you are not feeling grateful. And interestingly, for me, the habit that I had to break early on in this gratitude practice was caveating every bit of gratefulness because you don't want to tempt fate. I'm grateful for my health and the health of my family, but I hope, but I feel bad for the people who are unwell, or we have this tendency to qualify our gratitude. And it comes maybe from feeling guilty that you have so much to be grateful for. Maybe it comes from tempting fate, not wanting to tempt fate. Or maybe it comes from you're just having such a crappy day that you're almost too angry to want to be grateful. My day sucked, and hot coffee is not enough to fix it. Whatever stands in your way of developing this gratitude practice, now is a really important time to try to do that. Because one of the things that a meaningful gratitude practice does, and by meaningful, the only thing I mean by that is persistent, consistent. A consistent, persistent gratitude practice will rewire your brain and cause you to start looking for things. And here's the dopamine. You ready? Writing them down gives you a little bit of dopamine because now you're making a list. And you guys, we love lists. We can't help ourselves. We love lists. Start a gratitude journal. Let it start filling up. It does not matter how little. I have been grateful for chocolate chip cookies. I have been grateful for a sunny day. I have been grateful for a rainy day. I have been grateful for a fluffy pillow. I have been deeply grateful for my husband and my friends and my community. But I have also been grateful for my dog. Really grateful for my dog. Walk. Goes without saying because you guys are part of this 99 Walks pack, but walking, especially walking outside in nature, does so many things. The science behind walking and the benefits for your mind, your body, and your mood. I literally could talk about for 2 hours. So I won't, because I talk about it in so many different contexts around 99 walks, and you guys have access to all of that content. And if anybody wants, we can do a webinar just on that. But mind, incredibly powerful to fuel your creativity, improve your executive function and your decision making, raise your energy, your mood. Walking has been shown to be incredibly powerful to boost your mood and help combat depression. And your body, it goes without saying, it keeps everything working, it keeps everything moving. It's powerful for weight loss, it's powerful for your cardiovascular system. It's been shown to reduce your risk of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, several types of cancer, diabetes, dementia. Like, I literally could go on and on. I won't. But I want my voice to be in your mind later today or tomorrow when you think, this day sucks and I do not feel like walking out the door. I want my voice in your head saying, Janet, you are going to feel better when it's done. Noelle, you will feel better for having done it. I want my voice in your head. Snuggle Rover, those of you who have pets in your house, there is research about how snuggling your creatures reduces your cortisol, which is the anti-happiness hormone, and raises your happiness hormones. Lay down on the floor. Well, my dog doesn't have bed privileges. Because we live in a place with a lot of ticks and a lot of Lyme disease. There is few things as fun and pleasurable as actually snuggling your dog in your bed, but it literally risks our health. So for me to snuggle my dog, I got to get down to him. But if you have pets in your house, show them the love. I really believe that the dogs are some of the unintended beneficiaries of our current crisis. They have their whole packs home with them, and they love that. Most of them are getting more walks than they've ever had. But I believe that our dogs also sense our stress. I think dogs are incredibly intuitive, and I think that they naturally understand when we are stressed. So if you're not doing it for you, do it for them. Oh yeah, exactly. Oh, your name doesn't show up. I can't tell who it is. Okay. Oh, hey. All right. Help someone. We were talking about the helper hormone. So this is one of the beautiful ways that we as human beings are wired. We are wired. We are built so that helping someone makes you feel better. How amazing is that? It's something that they believe is utterly unique to human beings, possibly some of the more advanced primates. But this idea of the helper's high is something that is real and been documented, and people have a positive personal reaction when they help somebody else. I was at dinner one night, this was, oh gosh, years ago, with about 12 women. And one of them, Jennifer, was saying, whenever she feels broke, she gives money away. And that led us all into this conversation around whether that's just karma at work or that's just her perspective. Whatever it is, the more you give, the more you feel like you have. And that doesn't necessarily relate just to material things. That relates to time and energy. When you're tired, giving and doing for someone else will give you more energy. And the last is tidy the junk drawer. So there's all this going on, like there's all this buzzing around. This is the perfect time to learn a new language, right? This is the perfect time to renovate your house. This is the perfect time to clean the garage. You guys, be careful. Be careful of taking on anything that is going to add stress. Be careful about taking on anything that's going to feel like pressure. But completing tasks and being able to see the benefit, to see the result of completing that task is going to give you that dopamine that you need to feel productive and feel like you're moving forward. Tiny tasks, they don't have to be big. They have to be significant enough that you can feel when you're done that you have accomplished something. Find those things for yourself and do them every day. Don't stop. Don't stop feeling productive. Don't stop accomplishing something. There is something, even within the four walls of your house, that you could make better today without overextending yourself, without overstressing yourself. But when you get into bed tonight, you will feel like, I did at least that. Find those things and push yourself to do them. One warning and one caveat. The warning is about social media. So the research is that many people are spending much more time on social media. I certainly am, no doubt, no doubt. Social media is proving to be a very powerful and positive way for us to stay connected. It's when social media is good, it's very good. When it's bad, it's very bad. You need to remember that the algorithms and the very smart people who have designed social media have deliberately designed it to hack your dopamine response. This is no joke. This is a real thing. They have figured out how to feed you content in a way to keep you engaged and keep you there. So if you've ever had the experience where you think, I'm just going to pop into Facebook for a few minutes and check in on my Aunt Sue, and next thing you know, 35 minutes has gone by, I want you to realize that you have been hacked. And if you're okay with that because you had nothing more important to do and you ended up reading stories of your nieces and nephews and that made you feel good, fantastic. But if your time got hacked and you got pulled down a rabbit hole of content that didn't fuel you and feed you and make you feel good, you need to have enough self-awareness to realize I am going to use social media in the way I want to use it, in the way that makes me feel good, and I am not going to let them hack my attention and bring me down the rabbit hole. Know that they are doing that. They have so much machine learning that has identified exactly what will keep you there as long as possible, because that's how they make money. They are in your mind. They have figured you out, but you are smarter than they are because they are machine learning and you are a human being. So spend time on social media in a way that is good for you. Just be mindful. And the last piece of this is when you need it most, you'll feel like it the least. And this just sucks. This just sucks. I don't know what else to say about it. When you need those doses of happiness hormones, when you are depleted of oxytocin, you don't feel like connecting. When you are depleted of endorphins, you don't feel like walking. When you are depleted from dopamine, you don't feel like doing. And that's the hard part. That's where the intentionality has to come in, especially now. Because here's the thing, you guys. In your normal life, when you got up every day and you went to work, even when you didn't feel like it, once you started moving, chances are, more often than not, You started to feel productive. You started to feel more positive. We have all had that situation where a day has been improved from how you started in the morning because you got out and you started moving. Most days, we don't have a choice. These days, we have a choice. When you need it most, you'll feel like it the least. You're gonna have to push a little bit. That's all I wanted to share today. I'm Joyce Shulman. I'm on social at Joyce R. Shulman if any of you aren't connected with me. And I'm happy to, hang out. I think you guys can unmute yourselves. I'm not really sure. Anybody want to hang out and chit chat? Completely up to you.
Hi, Joyce. It's
Hi.
good to see you.
I didn't realize it was you, Janie, from the distance. And then we picked up the puppy. I was like,
That was great.
Chat bar, anybody want to hang out and talk? Questions, thoughts?
It was great. I took lots of notes.
I'm glad you guys. All right. Well, you guys have a good day. I'll see you on social media. And, ping me. Let me know if this is something that you guys might want us to do more of, if you found value in this, if there are topics you would like us to cover. Be happy to, because connecting is my favorite thing.